safe and secure from all alarms, leaning on the everlasting arms, leaning on Jesus, safe and secure from all alarms, leaning on Jesus, leaning on His everlasting arms. The texts we've been looking at this week are filled with imagery and metaphor. Two wonderful passages, I think, John chapter 10, verses 1 through 10, and also the very familiar and popular 23rd Psalm. I wanted to read that passage from John 10 as we start. Very truly, I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way, is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. Jesus used this figure of speech with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So again, Jesus said to them, very truly, I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. It's a word of God for the people of God. Certainly the imagery of sheep and shepherds links the passages together, this John passage and the familiar psalm. But this text also, we should hear, they do not shy away from the idea that danger and darkness lurk near. There's great comfort, promise in these texts, I think, for those who hear and who would choose to follow the shepherd. Those first verses of John that I read, honestly for me they're a little difficult to follow, some of the images and some of the way the passage and the wording weaves. It's pretty comforting and helpful to me that John says the original audience of Jesus, they didn't understand either, so I feel like I'm in pretty good company. But it's clear by verse 7, Jesus begins to unravel the metaphors a little bit and actually just comes right out and tells those listeners and tells us, I am the gate. We should note, I think, the I am that precedes that image. It draws our attention, if you will, back to the familiar text in the Old Testament when Moses encountered God and God wanted Moses to go and tell the Pharaoh to free the children of Israel. And in that encounter, Moses asks God, well, who should I say is sending me? And God says to Moses, you tell Pharaoh, I am. And Jesus uses that language. Jesus uses those terms, the I am passages. Some folks refer to that in these texts from Jesus. There's a few of those. I am the gate, Jesus says. It's a means of protection. It's a means of hemming in, if you will. Sometimes we put things inside and we close those in. Animals and other things, we close those in with a gate. In some ways helping to keep things in, and we often think of that as keeping things out. And probably a lot of times our mind immediately goes to the idea of a gate being used to keep something out. I wonder if our perception, our perspective of things might change if instead we thought of the gate as a means of actually letting something in. Certainly, for us, it's comforting to think of Jesus as protection from the thief who comes to steal, kill, and destroy. We want a gate to protect us from that. But what joy is it seems, that Jesus is sharing that those who enter those who choose the way of the gate, those who choose the way that Jesus provides. He says they're saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. There's a freedom there in that, in choosing Jesus and Him being the gate. For the good news is, for me, that Jesus has come to bring life and bring it abundantly. Again, a freedom and abundance in that. Sometimes we think of scarcity, but God is a God of abundance, and I'm so thankful for that. I was chatting with a friend this week, and in some ways we were laughing, in other ways frustrated, certainly, but we were talking about selective hearing. He sees that in his dad, and I saw that in my dad before my dad's death, and the difficulty in hearing TV and turning that up very loud, and the difficulty in hearing, certainly for my dad, hearing my mom at times and hearing us at times, and he's going through some of those same things. And it really started to bring to mind some things in this passage. I wonder sometimes we believers, we followers of Jesus, we have selective hearing sometimes, certainly selective doing. But Jesus states in this passage that the sheep know His voice. They haven't followed another voice. They know the voice of the shepherd. I'm guessing, if you're like me, one of the struggles of the faith sometimes, maybe a place that you've experienced difficulties, I have and still do, is hearing the shepherd, following His voice, following where He's leading. And admittedly, there are times when I'm not sure about the voice. There's been a lot of those times in these past few weeks, deciphering and trying in these troubled times, trying to know exactly what to do and to follow good guidance and to listen to the voice of Jesus. And I'm thinking that there are times when I don't hear, and it's not because Jesus isn't talking. I don't hear because the loudest voices are drowning out that still small voice. We have 3 dogs. I call them our holiday dogs. They all just showed up at the house. They were all 3 strays, showed up at different holidays. This Harley. Harley showed up around Thanksgiving of 2014. Has been with us the longest of the 3 now. And we have Nucky. Nucky's the smallest of the 3. Nucky showed up Labor Day of 2018. And Nucky's, again, the smallest, but he's kind of the boss. He kind of tugs and pulls and gets the other 2 to do pretty much what he wants them to do. Here he is sitting on our porch, kind of minding the house, it looks like. And the last of the 3 showed up around Easter of 2018, and he's the largest of the 3. His name is Chalky. And Chalky, we don't know anything about the 3, where they came from or what they had been through, but Chalky is very nervous around loud noises. He's getting a little more accustomed to the mower and some of the tools that I use outside, but loud pops and bangs seem to scare Chalky pretty quickly, and so we try to minimize that. What he does respond to are soft words while he's being petted, and comforting words while he's receiving a treat. He seems to respond well to those things. In the dealings I've had with other animals, cows and pigs and those sort of things, not a lot of dealings, but some, most of the time when we wanted to move those from one field to the other or one pen to the other, you got behind those animals, and sometimes you waved your arms, sometimes you shouted, and sometimes you created more of a mess, I think, doing those things, but it was the way that you tried to get those to move in the desired direction. I wonder if sometimes we don't think, or maybe think we won't, that's how God to deal with us, to get behind us and shout and to wave His arms, and maybe we'd see Him better, or maybe we could hear Him. I'm not really sure that's what we want. I'm pretty sure that's not what I want. For me, God knows me better than I know myself, and He knows I'm more apt to respond accordingly to His gentle voice, much like our dogs respond to that I just have to clear the noise sometimes because my noise is loud and my life is loud. And sometimes I have to clear that noise just to be sure that I can hear that still small voice. I hope you're able to do that. Right now, many of us aren't accustomed to this quiet that we're living in, and maybe your life's louder now than it was. However that's playing out for you in this time of social isolation and those things, I hope you'll find ways, and maybe it's the perfect opportunity for some to really listen and to hear the voice of God. And as you listen and as you follow that voice, I certainly hope that you find, as David did, that the Lord is the shepherd who provides and protects. Saturday, I encouraged you to think through that 23rd Psalm and maybe even to write down your own version of that 23rd Psalm. I want to read that Psalm as we close. I want to read that actually from the Message. God, my shepherd, I don't need a thing. You have bedded me down in lush meadows. You find me quiet pools to drink from. True to your word, you let me catch my breath and send me in the right direction. Even when the way goes through Death Valley, I'm not afraid. When you walk at my side, your trusty shepherd's crook makes me feel secure. You serve me a 6-course dinner right in front of my enemies. You revive my drooping head, my cup brims with blessing. Your beauty and love chase after me every day of my life. I'm back home in the house of God for the rest of my life. Lord, may it be true for us that we find you as the good shepherd, to hear your voice, to follow your leading, to know and to experience your love. We give you thanks. In Jesus' name, amen. I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him around me be falling, but he bids me go through the voice of woe. His voice to me is calling, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.